I am so excited for Rebel Radio to return for yet another epic conversation with my new friend, Donna Ferris. Welcome to the show, Donna. I'm so grateful you're here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's just an honor to be with you. Thank you.
I'm really excited to dive in today. And before we went live, as always, I shared a little bit of your numerology with you. And I'm really curious what stood out to you about what I shared, or what's something that really kind of made you go, oh,
What I liked about it is it was I related very much to what you said. I think it followed my path quite a bit. And I think we were probably going to talk more about the universe and so forth later, but I think I'm never surprised, but reassured by all these different points that come back to us through different modalities, right? So through horoscopes, through numerology, through psychic interactions with the masters and angels, etc. I'm always just, reassured that I'm not alone and that my path makes sense. It's just very helpful. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
I love that so much. I've always said that about numerology. It's a permission slip to be you, but it's also this like connection and conversation with God, source, universe, whatever label you want to give that. So I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's just reassuring.
Mhm.
It's just another data point to say, okay, well, wait a minute, it
Yeah.
is making sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're not here just willy nilly. It's not chaos. It's all is as it's designed. I love it.
yeah. And I do think that you had more comments about me being more in my head, which I think, or innately that would be where I would reside. And I think I've always known that. I think I was attracted to yoga as we talked a little bit about, I'm a yoga teacher, yoga therapist now, but I was attracted to it because I liked the philosophy. There was a spiritual philosophy that I liked, and I really all I ever wanted to do was hear about that. And the body part was secondary, but the body part was what I needed.
Yeah.
The connection to the body, which you brought up. So I thought that was a really insightful comment.
I love that. Beautiful. So, what would you say is Donna's inner genius or magic?
I think that my skill is and this is something that's born over time, and I think it's partially from being a child of abuse and having to um I wasn't allowed to speak a lot, but I had to figure out the way to turn the room into a positive thing. It was all kind of a self keeping myself from being hurt, right? And I think that I have developed a skill to be able to look at a room and say, okay, this is the thing I need to say to help the situation. I've been able to
Mhm.
turn it into a positive. It's really, helped me a lot through my career and certainly helps me in interactions today. So um, I think I've gotten quieter. I used to be talking, 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 talking all the time.
Mhm.
I now I think with the meditation and introspection realize and actually stopping drinking, I realized how much of an introvert I really am. And so what
Mm.
happens now is I'm quieter in conversations. I let other people take the leads, but I look for my spot. And I think that's probably my one skill. And like I noted, I think it may be something I already had, but I certainly was born of years of learning how to do
Mhm.
that for my own
Mm.
safety.
Yeah, I love that so much. And as you're sharing a little bit of your story and pieces of your story, and we're going to get into that a little bit more. But what I love with when I ask this question of people is that your skill or your genius unlocks through your trauma and as you get older and wiser and you learn about life. And I think that's really important when it comes to the law of divine timing. It unlocks as we get wiser and we
Yeah.
understand and we come into an acceptance of our life path. I just love that so much.
Me too. I think it's a big part of, I call it the master class, is being able to look at difficulty as an opportunity. And I don't say that without a ton of background in it and still struggling with it.
Hmm.
I consistently struggle with it. I don't think we ever get to be great at this. I think we get better at it. We recognize the problem quicker. We might recognize a solution quicker, but we never get. I mean, we still respond with our reptilian brain, right? So I think you do the best you can with it, but the more that you can turn it into an opportunity and into a growing experience that makes you better, the healthier you'll be in the end.
Yeah, it's faster you interrupt it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love
Yeah.
it. So, what lights you up the most in life?
I think it's and I wouldn't have said this, I think, before writing a book and getting it out. I think it's when people read the book and then they connect. They find the things that are, that are helpful to their particular journey. And they pull out different things. I think that's something that's been incredibly helpful to me. And then also I've been doing a lot of workshops, and so again, sharing the tools that I learned through this journey I went on. Has been really a thing that lights me up too. And I've always had a bit of and I present for a living and so forth, but I've always had a bit of social anxiety. And I did this the workshops I've been doing, and the workshop I just did at Kripalu, actually, I didn't have any social anxiety. It didn't feel like work. So I think that is something that I'm doing more of out of this book, and it is definitely what lights me up. And it's a different it's not a helping other people. I think it's
Mhm.
important to note that, like, I don't think I help other people. I think I'm giving them tools so they can help themselves. I think people
Ah,
already know what they need.
yeah.
I just give them the space and examples of what I went through and things that worked for me, and then
Mhm.
say, hey, take what you want, reject what doesn't work.
Yeah.
But some transformation seems to happen, and that definitely lights me up.
Oh, I love that so much. And I love that you pointed out, you're not helping people, you're
Mm-mm.
helping people help themselves.
That's right. They know
Yeah.
the answers. I mean, I start off every workshop. You know the answer.
Yep.
You know the answer. I mean, and when we get done, you're probably going to write them down.
Yeah.
But right now, for whatever reason, you're just not connecting with that answer, or
Yeah.
you don't feel confident. A lot of it's confidence. A lot of it's just, I don't think I can do this.
Yeah.
Um, so
Absolutely.
yeah.
So good. So, how do you define unity consciousness?
Oh, I love this. I of course was looking at your questions of this and answers of this. I think for me, we alluded a little bit in the front, in that this idea that we are so connected in so many surprising and interesting ways. As I've been on this journey of yoga and philosophy and Reiki, and I've been doing psychic work and so forth. I've really gotten stronger in some of these connections. So, those moments where you think of something or think of somebody, and they call you or text you or send you an email, like those connections. I think I'm just more and more aware of how
Mhm.
connected we really are, and how much of it is not spoken in energy. Even down to a Zoom call where the Zoom goes wacky because someone's emotional, right? I think I just think that's how I see it. I think we are so incredibly connected that energy is a life force that we are under utilizing and under recognizing. And those of us that do, should be sharing that with anybody that will listen and not roll their eyes. I think that's how I feel about it.
And that's why Rebel Radio exists.
Yeah, I mean, and in the start of my journey in the book, it starts out with me calling all of this hooey and woo woo, and by the end of the book, I'm believing that my someone I lost is talking to me through a windmill. I mean, it couldn't be any more different than when I began. So, and I'm blessed by that. I mean, I last night I had quite a day, and my husband said to me, let's go check out. I live in the Outer Banks, and check out the Sound, which is the waterway between the mainland and the islands. And it's foggy, and I'm like, I don't really feel like doing this, but I did. And we go out, and it was spooky and mystical and foggy. And then suddenly this heron comes in and
I saw your
flies
tweet.
in.
Yeah.
Huh?
I saw
Yeah,
your post about that. Yeah.
it
Mhm.
was amazing. So one flew in, and then we had another one. So we had two. I've never seen two in that inlet. And then, even though, what was funny about it is that the one guy flew away because we started to walk around trying to get pictures, of course. And then the second guy, though, knew that we wanted a picture, and so he walks. He flew onto the dock. So there's this long picture of the dock you saw, and then he sat and he stood right in the middle of the dock so we could take pictures. It was unbelievable. It was like, I want you to know I'm here. And herons, as an animal spirit, as I wrote in the post, really harbinging, a big change. They're basically saying that, you're moving from one ending of one period to another. And then it
Mhm.
talks about confidence, like transformation, confidence, all these different things that I did need to hear. I needed those things, and I am going through a period of change, and it was just, you just can't make these things up, you know.
Right? Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I'm going to apologize to our audience right now. I've got these two little fur
Oh my
babies
gosh,
who
they're so
are
beautiful.
little Jupiter and Mars.
Aw,
But they
perfect.
haven't figured out that there are times when mom's working, so they're crawling all over me.
They're adorable.
They are. They're pretty cute. They're little
Oh,
fuzzballs.
wow.
All right. So moving on, I want to know what kind of rituals or habits that you have in place for yourself in order to stay devoted to this concept of unity consciousness. I mean, I know yoga is one of them, but what else do you do that helps you stay connected?
Yeah, I do an oracle card every morning. So I think that's a big one. I mean,
Mhm.
so every morning I meditate, and every night actually before to bed I meditate too. I think the meditation in the morning is really important, and I highly recommend it. Many people do the morning, but they don't do the afternoon, the evening. I think the evening is as important before bed because it sets you up to sleep well, and then that really sets you up for all the regenerative, restorative efforts that happen with your body overnight. But anyway, but in the morning, every morning I meditate. I read something, a daily devotion by Melody Beatty right now, but it can be anybody. It's been Pema Chodron, it's been Sharon Salzberg, and then I pull an oracle card every day. If
Beautiful.
there's something's really big happening, then I'll do a real spread. But I pull one every day, and it is amazing how they apply. I mean, and that is how I know. I kind of reaffirm this thing every
Mhm.
day, and then I
Yeah.
usually write a little bit too. I mean, I think the oracle card usually causes writing, and so I write
Right.
down the oracle card message, and then I continue to write from there.
Beautiful. I love
Yeah,
that. I love that.
yeah.
So speaking of writing, let's talk about the book. I've got a
Oh,
copy of
sure.
it right in front of me, so thank you for this gift.
Oh, thank
Uh,
you.
I love the book. We've got to stop meeting like this, a memoir of missed connections. So tell us about the book. What inspired it? What's it about? Share your passion behind the book.
Absolutely. So the book is about 3 years of my life where I discovered my husband was cheating on me about 5 minutes after I started yoga teacher training. So I was
Mm,
going through this midlife crisis of sorts. My oldest daughter was about to go off to college. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I was busy. As we talked before, I had material things, all these things, but I was incredibly unhappy. So I decided to take yoga teacher training. And then almost immediately afterwards, I find out my husband's cheating on me, and I have to decide what to do with that. This sends me on this journey,
mhm,
and I think that that's going to be the worst thing that happens to me. But of course, what happens, when you think that, and so initially I thought I was going to write a book about meeting this wonderful man that I met, and this quirky little rom-com of my life, and it was a way for me to kind of get through divorce and also really process the things I was learning in yoga teacher training.
mhm,
Then everything kind of fell apart. So I lost someone I loved. I lost my mother, and then I was not in a good place at all. So I had to write my way out of grief. So,
mhm,
so the book really is that it's this exploration and what I learned about you know processing loss and change and thriving through it, as opposed to kind of getting stuck. I mean, I have a lot of uh, really examples of people getting stuck, and then I was determined not to do that because I couldn't. I had 2 kids. I was a single mom. Ended up with 2 dogs along the way. I adopted 2 dogs, and I couldn't fall apart for a long time. I could fall apart for a little bit, but then I had to move on. So the
mhm,
the title of it, "We've Got to Stop Meeting Like This," is really me pushing back on the world and saying, I can't really deal with you anymore. You've got to stop doing this to me. And then, of course, that's not how things work. And the resistance is actually the pain and the suffering. And
mhm,
and so that's really the theme of the book is how to change your mindset and get to the point where, you're like the Dalai Lama, what do you do when you're upset? And he's like, what's upset? I mean, like that's kind of what we're thinking here is because we got to get there.
Yeah.
We've got to get to the point where we're, I always think of it kind of like you're standing on this solid platform while everything else is going around you, but you have to stay solid. Um, and again, I'm not saying that that's simple, but that's the book. That's the book. I'm writing another book, a nonfiction book that's managing change with grace, which is what my workshops tend to be around. And then I'm writing a mystery novel too, which has similar themes. It has grief themes in it. Different ways people are dealing with grief around, a funny rom-com kind of mystery idea. But just trying to share the themes a lot of different ways, because not everybody accesses these things the same way.
Yeah, I love that you're using this in different genres and getting the message out there in different ways. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
So, how do you stay in integrity? And integrity is this funny little word that we think
Mm.
it means doing what we told everybody else we would do. How do you stay aligned and in integrity to your own dreams when there's all this outside noise happening?
It's a really good question. And I think I'm doing a workshop called Managing Uncertainty. And I think it's a really key part of going through difficult times is to know your life purpose. I think it's really important
Mhm.
to center in on what that is. And it's not that it can't change, but I think these periods define that. Because this is where you say, I'm not going to let this happen to somebody else. I'm going to share my journey so somebody else can benefit from it. I'm going to create a foundation. How many people have done that? I think this is the place where we want to really dial into the life purpose. And I think I think that daily meditation practice of having that to-do list of things, the things that really matter to me. And I actually I reconnect to this at least annually,
Mhm.
do kind of a create your life. What do I want my life to be? And I reassess at the end of every year. I think that's been a really important part. And in because sometimes in the middle of the year you can say, okay, well, everything's kind of going to hell in a handbasket. And what am I going to do? And I kind of go, okay, wait a minute, this is a temporary thing. If I feel the same way at the end of the year, then I probably need to make some changes, because at the end of the year you're a little calmer, things are quieter, it's the holidays, you can kind of find yourself again. And I think that's been a really good practice to kind of always look at it at the end of the year and see where I'm at.
Yeah, I love the reassessment, right? Of always just checking in and is this still what I want, first of all?
Yes.
And then, what have I done towards it and what have I not done towards it and how can I improve upon that? I love that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to say, too, that there's many times where I go, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, or why am I doing, like, why am I doing this? Like,
Yeah.
I think, you said that this is a big passion project for you, but it's a lot of work to do a podcast. To do the things that we're doing, in terms of content creators is a big deal. I'm trying to put my newsletter together. It is only a 700 word blog that I commit to, but it's a lot. And in addition to all the other things I'm doing, but you just have to constantly say that this is what I want to do and
Mhm.
recommit to it and then reevaluate if it's not right. But so I just want everybody to know that I constantly question whether I'm doing everything and what, is it worth it and blah blah blah. But then you get something from somebody that says that it impacted them.
Mhm.
um and you're like, okay, just at the time where you're like ready to kind of throw it all out, the universe serves, so that's helpful.
Ah, I love that so much. What would you say is one truth, just one, that you wish every entrepreneur knew?
It's going to be a lot harder than you think.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. That's good. Straight to the point. It's just gonna be harder than you think it is.
Yeah, I think that we all think that it's going to be easy and that we're going to be different somehow, and maybe that will be the case. But I've had, like, with authors, I've had people say, I've heard say that, look, be grateful that your first book is not like a runaway bestseller, because then you only are up here. And I'm like, well, that's a great way to look at it, I guess. But I think it's important to say that. I think it's important to say that it's okay that you make the connections that you make with what you put out, and know that the only thing holding you back is yourself. I think that, and no one owes. I guess the other one is no one owes you anything. I think that's a point that we all kind of get into, right? Why isn't this working? Why didn't so and so show up for me? Blah 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 blah.
Right?
No
Nobody's
one owes
gonna
you
rescue you.
anything. No
No.
no bookstore owes you anything. Amazon doesn't owe you anything. Podcasters don't owe you anything. No one owes you anything. You have to show your value and what you bring to everyone, because we're busy, and you have to make an impact. So I think that's important too. So I
I
gave you more than one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, everybody does. Nobody can keep it to one, so you're not wrong. Oh my
Ah,
God. Donna, thank you so much for being on the show today. I have loved this conversation, the refreshing questions that we're asking. And I just want to thank you so much for being on the show today. But as always, we end with one last question.
oh,
What
good.
do you dream of for the world?
I would love if everyone could experience self-love. I
Mm,
think that is doing workshops. I think the self-love ones have been the lowest attended. I think, if you put self-love in the title, everybody goes, "Ugh." I really wish people would key into that concept. It would change the world if we all could learn to love ourselves as much as we can.
mm,
Um, so I think that's what I would wish for the world, is everybody kind of would take care of themselves as well as they take care of everybody else they love.
yes, please. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you.